Alright guys, welcome back to another Master and Apprentice video and podcast. As you guys can see from the title, it might seem a little clickbaity, but it's not at the root cause. Yes, technically, The Mandalorian's canceled. So we've had plenty of Disney Plus shows from Star Wars, from Marvel, just a lot of Disney Plus originals. But Marvel and Star Wars have had a lot of the big ones because they're the biggest IPs that Marvel or that Disney owns. And by far, The Mandalorian is the biggest Star Wars project put out. Season 1 and 2 were huge hits. Season 3 did decent. But we got an announcement not that long ago we're getting a movie for The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, a lot wondered, how would this work? Would it be a direct continuation off of the show? Would it just be like a side story? Would they continue to do the show after? And we kind of gotten some answers. For all intents and purpose, it looks like The Mandalorian is done after this movie. They made comments, a lot of these people like Daniel Richmond, Daniel RPK on Twitter, a lot of insight. You can follow his Patreon if you want a lot more information, but this is mostly where the source is coming from. Made the comments that we could see the Mandalorian continue the story in another movie, depending how successful the first movie is, but like a season 4 is pretty much out of the cards at this point. Obviously anything can happen, very similar to something like Skeleton Crew, right? Are we going to get another Skeleton Crew season 2? Probably not, at least not anytime soon. Disney Plus, anybody representing Disney Plus hasn't really made any comments saying that we are, but they also haven't said we really aren't. And right before the show came out, when they had asked about a season 2, some of like the showrunners and the directors had mentioned, it depends on how well season 1 does, and season 1 really wasn't that successful. So all things being, said, like, it's similar to that, where it's like, we could get it, obviously, but it looks like we're probably not going to get season 4 of Mandalorian, which is unfortunate because, like I mentioned, season 1 and 2 were huge hits, and season 3 wasn't like a terrible season. It didn't live up to season 1 and 2 in most people's eyes, but it was still a good TV show. Overall, season 3 wasn't terrible, it wasn't a horrid thing to watch, but it lets you kind of, just in the grand scheme of things, look at it. All the Disney Plus shows, at least for live action, are pretty much not getting a sequel, right? Andor is one of the few that has gotten a season 2. They're done, right? They've said that season 2 was it. That's the finale. We obviously know if you watch the finale of Andor season 2, it leads right into Rogue One. Book of Boba Fett, most likely not getting any sort of sequel in a season 2. The Acolyte was obviously canceled. Kenobi, they've said from the get-go that season 1 was it. It's just like a one and done. They've talked about maybe wanting to do more because a lot of fans have requested it. But they've kind of said, like, that's probably never going to happen, right? So a lot of these, live-action shows aren't getting any sort of sequel, which is really unfortunate. In the day and age where Disney Plus, and just in general, was kind of struggling to make any mainstream media movement, you would hope, these big titles like Marvel and Star Wars could help move it, but both, as of like the last couple months, have kind of come out and said, like, there's not a lot of movement going forward, right? Like, we know for Disney Plus and Star Wars, Ahsoka is pretty much it. Otherwise, you're going back to the box office, hitting the big screens, and that's what their plan is. Marvel has said pretty much after this year, they're going to try to do 1, maybe 2 at the most. And they're also going to try to make these shows a lot less, bigger focus. Like, they're going to make them a lot more smaller, maybe to introduce, more unique niche characters. They're not going to be like Loki and WandaVision, where they have a lot of big implications. So just like these big hitters, Marvel and Star Wars for Disney, they're kind of leaving as like the mainstream big hitters for Disney Plus, which is, kind of a weird thing to get past, because that's, what else do you expect to make the big money on Disney Plus?
Disney Plus came out in that streaming era, 2018 to 2022. Every company wants to come up with their own streaming service and make it out for everything. And Disney had a unique twist on it where they owned a couple of these IPs, and they'd allow early access if you paid on their subscription. But honestly, it makes me question the future of Disney Plus as a whole. How long is its longevity coming to an end? Are they going to get rid of it? Are they not going to be putting these new big projects directly on it? I honestly don't know. I mean, any Marvel or Star Wars show, I don't see why they wouldn't just keep Disney Plus up to be putting those two out. But, I mean, they they definitely saturated the audience in Marvel with the quantity of shows that came out from after Loki to now, and a lot of the Star Wars shows flopping doesn't help that either. It honestly just makes me question how Disney Plus is doing as a whole, because it was a great success when it came out, but I don't know if it's doing great as a whole anymore.
I mean, Disney Plus has never made money. That's kind of like the whole focus, right? They were never going to make money the first couple of years because they're going to be spending all of their resources on getting product, right? It was about making money long term, right? Once you've got all of these originals on your platform, then you'd kind of start to see a return. But they're not really. And now they're not even going to keep using those big hitters. They're going to try to use some sort of different avenue. It's just interesting. But, like I mentioned, Ahsoka and like the whole Mandoverse, because Ahsoka is probably the biggest thing in Star Wars right now, like the biggest implications, I'd say, because it's gonna have big implications in the Dave Filoni movies, right? His Mandoverse. Ahsoka is gonna have a lot to do with that, and the Mandalorian is part of that time right now in Star Wars, so maybe we'll see his story continue in there as well. But also, something that I think Star Wars has over Marvel is its animated projects are usually big hitters. And they can usually rely on those. I mean, as far as animation goes, animation never makes as much as live action, but Star Wars animation has been very successful for the most part. Their Tales of series, Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Underworld, have all been relatively very successful. Their Clone Wars stuff, like Clone Wars, Bad Batch, going into the Maul series, they've all been relatively successful. So that's something that Star Wars does have that I expect them to continue. How much, are they going to keep it at the same rate now, where it's like maybe one every other year or one a year? Who knows? But it's just interesting to see that Disney and Disney Plus as a brand moving on to a new era with Star Wars and Marvel and the different type of media that they put out, because they're just kind of moving away from these TV shows. It looks like they're going to try to change pace for both Star Wars and Marvel. So let us know what you guys think down in the comments. If you guys are disappointed, excited, I liked a lot of these shows. I liked them enough. It was entertaining, but I also could admit, like, sometimes it felt like homework, and I just really wanted to see a Star Wars movie, in the theaters, right? Seeing Revenge of the Sith this year in the movie theaters, it was a great experience, and that's a 20-year-old movie. That was an amazing experience. I couldn't tell you how excited I would be to get an episode 10, even after, the sequels that we got. I would still be super ecstatic to see an episode 10, right? And the Marvel movies, while the Marvel movies haven't been great this year, or at least not Captain America, Thunderbolts was great. Those experiences totally trump Daredevil or Agatha. Like, those are fine shows by all means, but the movie is where it's at. So I can admit there's pros and cons to both sides of the argument, but it's interesting to see that Disney and Disney Plus are making a stance and they're kind of moving forward past these shows. So, with all that being said, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Let us know down in the comments what you guys think. If you guys are listening on podcast, don't forget to hit that download and follow, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.